Views and opinions expressed in this podcast and on our social media accounts do not represent that of the entire death industry. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any correction of errors, comments, concerns, or suggestions. Privacy is of utmost importance to us. All people and places mentioned in this podcast have been changed to protect the families we serve. This podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own discretion.
Hello there, folks, and welcome back to Dying to Share. This is Barry, and Morty is here as well.
I was like, are you going to introduce me?
Yeah,
Do you want me to introduce myself?
Morty is still here. Gang's
Hello.
all here.
Yep.
Uh,
Haven't been killed off yet.
Nope. Just so there's some transparency here, we have not recorded in about a year.
So we're nervous.
Yes. Excited, nervous. It's starting all over again. Everything that you've heard up to this point, we recorded in the beginning of 2025.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we can say years.
Yeah, it wasn't like '02. But this was something that we just kind of did, and we didn't know if we're ever actually going to release anything, and then we just ended up releasing something.
So it's kind of, I don't know, do you want to talk about why we were hesitant to even release?
Okay. The reason we had some, I don't know, not issues, but more of concerns about initially releasing this was we didn't really have a logo or a picture for anything. It was kind of just something we did as co-workerships to...
He's afraid to say friendship, folks.
Co-workers.
Friends.
Co-workers. And I don't know, we just were... Once we recorded it, we were kind of nervous because, then it became real.
Yeah. And it's just, we've had a lot of people that we know and people in the industry that we know and work with, listen. And it's a little scary and intimidating, I think.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. First of all.
Yes, but also, it's scary because we recorded it about a year ago. So I'm like, oh boy, did I say anything bad?
Yeah.
Because I am assistant superintendent, and I am governed by a board of directors. And for all I know, they listen and are like, I wouldn't have said it that way, or, said something bad.
That's inappropriate.
Right. And as far as I know, we haven't had any kickback on that.
Nope, just about our audio.
Just about the audio, which, full disclosure, I have never done this before. And it
You're
shows.
not a sound tech?
No.
That's crazy. Not an engineer?
Nope, nothing like that either.
Wow.
Got a business degree and a minor in biology. So, this was...
Loves to mention the minor in biology.
I put some effort into that. Thank you very much. And we're learning.
We are. It's been a learning curve. We appreciate everybody that's reached out and kind of, because I'm sure it's uncomfortable to even tell us. A lot of the times it's been people that we know that you can't hear us or that it's really low. So we're really trying to work on that. We super appreciate all of the feedback that we've gotten, and it actually kind of leads us into this episode because it was a listener.
We got one.
It was a listener who, asked us to do an episode on funeral and cemetery etiquette. So shout out to Amber for giving us this idea. Yeah, thank you so much. So that's what this episode will be about, is we're going to talk about funeral and cemetery etiquette, the do's and don'ts. I guess that's something we probably didn't really consider, but is definitely...
I never did, obviously.
Definitely something people probably think about is, when they go to a funeral home or they go to a cemetery, a little nervous because they don't want to fuck up, I guess. They don't want to be the center of attention of something wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could probably start... with you, because you always see the families first, or we could start. Well, is that really etiquette? I mean, I'm trying to think when I sell a grave, there's no real etiquette to that.
No,
not really. I mean, you just got.
So if somebody were to go in, you don't go in by a grave and go I think the baseline of etiquette, let's start with just being professional. I think in a
yes.
sense.
I mean, yeah, that's. I thought that was almost a given, but yeah, in this day and age,
Could
it's
not
not.
be.
Yeah. I will say, just for our staff, we all have T-shirts that say our cemetery with our names on it. That's kind of like we require that now. So that kind of differentiates. And I know I've met families where I've been sweaty or I've been...
If you hear a huffing and puffing in the background, it is Chloe.
Yes.
It is not me. I do not breathe that heavy unless I'm running.
Yeah. No, I mean, there it is. I've met families and I've been... I haven't looked my best, I'll say that. Either being sweaty or muddy or things like that.
Mostly the latter. You guys are dirty sometimes.
Yes, most of the time. I will say when it's a scheduled an appointment, when someone says, I'll be in on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, I do my best to be prepared and clean for that. But people just call, or people just show up and say, oh, I want to look at a grave. Mm-hmm. I get a call and I'm in the middle of...
digging a grave.
Or worse, like, we might have a pipe broken and we're trying... I'm
in the pond.
Yeah, literally in the pond trying to fix the pipe. And I come down and I'm like, well, this is going to be a fun one. I always threaten to leave clothes in my father, Bernie's, office. And I just never do it. And I don't know why.
You probably should. I don't know why that's a threat either. It's probably just a...
No, because I keep saying,
probably just a good idea.
Oh, it's a great idea. Because I'm always like, yeah, I'll do that. And I just never do it. And I don't know why.
So, etiquette.
Yes. I'm sorry. I went on a rambling there. You go. You go over funeral home etiquette.
Well, okay. So I think that a lot of people probably want to know, because you're nervous going into the funeral home, like... What should you say to somebody that's lost somebody?
Oh,
how do you?
I hate that so much.
How should you behave? Like, when you go up to a funeral, like which way do you go in the calling hours? First of all, let me just alleviate some stress. It really is part of the funeral director and the staff's job to help you in that moment. So at our funeral home, we like to have somebody up kind of near where the line starts, directing people, saying, like, there's a book to sign here, there are prayer cards here for you to grab, and then depending on the family, because every family is different too. We notice some families want to be greeted first, and then you pay your respects to the loved one. Some families want you to pay your respects to the loved one, and then you greet the family afterwards. It really depends on the situation, but it is typically the funeral home's job to kind of make sure you understand that. So if you're ever in a situation where the funeral home isn't indicating which way to go, right? I would say the safest bet is to follow the leader.
Follow somebody.
Yeah. Whoever's in front of you, if they go right, you go right. If they go left, you go left. But I typically would say you're going to greet the family first. So you're going to go towards the family. Now,
question. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Because I thought that'd be the opposite.
Okay.
Every calling hours I've ever been to,
it's deceased first.
Yes. You get in line, and then you go around.
And see, for me, it's different. Like every calling hours that I've been to, it's always the family first.
Huh.
So I think once again, assess the situation. If you're the first person to arrive.
Yes, that's a tough one.
I think going to the family first
really
might be a little bit easier. But once again, I know it's overwhelming when you're going to a funeral home. You typically don't want to be there. Listen to the funeral director. Because a lot of the times when you enter, somebody is telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. So don't let your fear overwhelm the directions that you're being given.
Question. Those little books,
mm-hmm.
you just sign your name, right?
Correct.
You don't say like, hey, so sorry, wishing you the best.
You could if you want to.
That's not.
But it's typically, so for the books in particular, it's typically you sign your name so that they can send thank you cards. They can send acknowledgement cards.
Okay.
So it's because if they're seeing a lot of people throughout that day, it's hard to remember everybody.
Right.
Especially if you don't know them. There are sometimes you're going to go to calling hours and you don't know a single person there, but you knew the deceased. Mm-hmm. So you're just expressing your sympathy to these people that you really don't know. So let me touch on that. Expressing sympathy to people that you don't know, because I'm sure you'll get into a line where you have these people before you have your person that you're there for, and you have no idea what to say to those people. I'd say it's pretty standard. Don't feel bad for saying, I'm sorry for your loss. Okay? Like,
that's my go-to.
It's such a standard, like, and it's true. Like, if you didn't feel sorry for their loss, you probably wouldn't be. Right. Exactly. Right, yeah. And what would you want to hear? Right? So put yourself in a situation. Do you want some random person that you don't know going up and trying to hug you, or if you're the person that would want a hug, maybe consider it. If you're the person that's like, yeah, I'm good with I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm going to stand here until I get to the person that I need to get to. Cool. Like, there's not really a super right or wrong. You just don't go up and be like inappropriate,
Yeah, of course. Right.
Like, I think stories are cool too. If you have a fun story, like say you get to grandkids and you've never met the grandkids, like you worked with grandpa, you've never met the grandkids, but you have a really funny work story. That's a good, if you're staying there for some time, because sometimes people get yapping. I think that's a great topic to touch on. Is you are not the only person in that line. Okay? If you are super, super close to that family, then you'll have time outside of calling hours to be there for them. Keep it moving. Like, don't take up a ton of time.
Same thing I've gone through when I didn't know anybody, and I'm like, all right, I'm so and so. I worked with,
Jim Bob.
Yeah, sure. And they're like, oh yeah, thanks for coming. I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I go to take a step away, and I can't. And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna be sitting right next to you.
Finger guns.
Yeah,
pew, 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 pew.
No, what's new with you? Yeah.
So what
this
do you
sucks,
do?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's not inappropriate to kind of get to know them if you're stuck like that too. Right. Sometimes, depending on the vibe, like if it's a grandkid, I would almost say like, well, I'm kind of stuck here, so.
Yeah. The whole thing is read the room. If they're just bawling, be like, oh well,
maybe not crack a joke.
Yeah, I can't help you there.
Yeah. But sometimes it alleviates, when you get somebody laughing, or they're probably just as uncomfortable as you are if they don't know you.
When my grandparents passed away, I remember I hated the calling hour. I was like, I just want to get out of here. Mm-hmm. The whole thing was.
So let me also give a preface for that too, like maybe a new perspective is, because it really can be so draining. So that's why, first of all, you keep it pushing. Don't take up everybody's time, because this family is tired. Like they're already grieving. They're already going through the works. But if you're somebody that's in that line and you've seen 70% people that you do not know, do not care about, why am I here? Like, I just want to get this person in the ground. And I want to, like, it.
Jesus.
Well, listen, I was 16 when I lost my grandpa. I would have rather been basically anywhere but the funeral home, listening to people talk about my grandpa.
Yeah.
Just remember that it's one day. Like, it is one time in your life that's really going to occur for this person. Try to be as present as possible and really understand how special it is that people are showing up for your loved one. Like, it's pretty impressive when you have lines of people that are taking time and standing in line for however long just to express their sympathy to you. Like, if you really take a step back and you look at it from the outside, it's pretty amazing that community can do that. I've been to funerals and calling hours where nobody shows up, and it's really fucking sad.
Yeah, that is. I've done some funerals, drop-offs where no one shows up, and it's like, man, this guy or girl lived 80 years and nothing. Yeah. Nobody.
It's sad. So, like, being there when it might be exhausting to be in the line for 3 hours and you literally don't get a break because the line is just nonstop. Mm-hmm. Take a breath and go, wow.
Yeah, no,
they were a good point. So loved, and we are so loved. Our community is really showing up for us in this way. Getting back to the etiquette, funny stories can be, appropriate. Like Barry had said, read the room. If it's something kind of tragic or out of the norm, like they weren't expecting it, maybe just besides, I'm really sorry for your loss, they'll be with you in spirit. Look for the signs. I know that some people don't believe in signs, but it's still nice to kind of hear that. Because you and I have debated this. whether signs are real or not, coincidences are real or not.
Yeah.
I believe in a sign. I like
Okay.
a sign, you know?
I believe in some signs. Not everything is a sign. And
Not everything
it's funny
is a
how
sign.
those signs always work in someone's favor. It's never a sign in the other direction. It's always a sign to what somebody already thought.
Well,
Excuse me, go on.
I think that, you know, there are instances where somebody might show up and it's just nice to kind of be reminded of that sometimes, especially when you're in the thick of it. You know, if you really want to be there for this family, I mean, there's always offering. Like, if you need anything, call me. I have a big, I don't know if issue is the right word. If you are close with somebody and they are going through the thick of it, you do not just offer to show up. You show up. That's it, period. Like, you're there with food. You know what I mean? Like, you're knocking on the door like, hey, I know it's just a Friday and I don't know what you're doing, but like, I was in the neighborhood and, you know, do you want to sit and have some coffee? You know, like, just show up, because that matters. Your presence matters. Nobody's ever going to forget you dropping off food, even if it's horrible. Even if it's like the worst fruit cake they've ever received in their life. They're going to still remember that you went out of your way to make something or to make sure they're fed. You know, do those things, even though it's uncomfortable and it feels like, especially in today's day and age where community, I think, lacks in this way, we always feel like we're imposing. That's the whole point. Like, that's the whole point of life, is to just be there for each other. So do that. I don't think that you can go wrong with doing that.
No, it's a nice gesture, of course.
Yeah. I mean, don't be like at their house every day. That's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Like once again, read the room.
Yeah.
You know, but sending a card, like, say you're out of state and your like high school friend's dad passes away. And you're like, oh, that really stinks. I couldn't imagine losing my dad right now. Put pen to paper and send a card. It's not hard. You know what I mean? Like, even sending a text, I think that's a little impersonal because I'm old school, but like, even that is better than just not
acknowledging it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. See,
it's awkward.
Yeah. I don't acknowledge it.
Yeah. But see, then you get stuck in the grocery store, right? Like, you're grocery shopping and somebody comes up to you and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry for the loss of your grandpa. And you're like, no, thanks. It was like 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm more of that. Let's just bury it down.
Yeah.
Which is not
so you
great.
just don't acknowledge it, period.
Yeah, that's usually the Barry approach to this.
God,
It's not great. I'm not saying it's not a good strategy. I'm just being honest. I had my first
Which I appreciate.
I had my first ever that I can think of panic attack. The only one in my life was at my grandmother's funeral. My grandfather, I was very close to my grandfather's on my mother's side. He passed away. I was not in the industry at the time, and I just was like, oh, well, I just got to move on and just don't, just whatever, not whatever, but like keep moving, keep moving your
keep part of life.
Yep, keep moving your
don't
feet
be a
forward.
Sissy.
Yeah, keep moving your feet. Just keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
I could not look at any pictures. Like I couldn't go in like I couldn't visit my other grandparents who were still alive because I would think of my other. I remember I went to I actually never tell anybody this. I went to my grandparents' house on my father's side after my grandfather died, and I went into the basement before I went in the house, and I just cried in their basement. And my dad came walking down and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, nothing. I'm just,
just some dust out here.
Yeah, just checking the pipes. Don't worry about me." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Just
allergies."
He's like, "Just whenever you're ready." I said, "Okay." So I went upstairs into my grandmother's house. My grandmother just kind of looked at me and smiled and gave me a hug. Yeah. And then after my grandfather passed away, my grandmother passed away 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later, and I still wasn't over my grandfather. And I was at her calling hours, and I remember I was looking around, and there was my grandmother in a casket. There was pictures of them together everywhere. And I remember my heart just started going like a hummingbird. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually might pass out. And I remember I had to sit down. I remember like, what is going on? And my brother was like, you okay? And I go, no, I don't think so. And he's like,
you're like, I think I actually might be having a heart attack.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, yeah, just, want some water? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And I remember, I don't know, it lasted a couple of minutes. And I remember thinking, holy shit, that was a panic attack.
Yeah.
So my advice is don't do what I did. You should talk about it or express yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to cry, because I was fighting him back.
It does not make you less of a person, like, no matter your gender, to release those emotions. If you're close with somebody, it is what it is. And props to your brother, too, in that sense, because...
He made fun of me afterwards.
Okay, I retract the... But, you know, I've been a part of services. Obviously, I don't know these people. And if you're in tune with emotions, and like people might say it's woo-woo to be vibey or blah, blah, blah. If you can sense a vibe, like there was that one time we were at a service and I could tell this kid was about to pass out, you know? Mm-hmm. I didn't ask him like, hey, do you need water? Do you need something? I went over and I gave him a freaking water. You know what I mean? Like your brother saw what you needed. I mean, in that moment, maybe he was a little bit more asking because he didn't want to overstep. But like I said, we're in a point now where we just need to offer. If they don't want it, they're not going to open the water. You know what I mean? If you have a candy in your pocket and you see somebody fiddling around, do you want a candy? I love carrying around candy. It's such an old lady thing to do, but I love it.
Withers.
How many times have I offered you guys at the cemetery a candy? It's just...
Like your pocket lint on it.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I don't want to go on another tangent here, but you almost... in our profession, you have to get somewhat hardened to it, because if you don't, you're just going to be a mess every single day.
Well, but see, it's hard for me because I don't think I'm hardened at all. I think that this profession has actually softened me, and to a point where, like, there are times I will cry with a family. You know, it's just that deep. It's that hard. It's that sensitive. I think that it makes it real to them. It makes it okay for them to cry. I think that there are times when I know it's not okay for me to cry. It's not like they're not going to feel comforted by my tears. You know what I mean? They're going to feel a little bit more anxious. Oh, maybe a little bit like the moment's not theirs anymore, you know? So I think that going into those scenes, and, you know, if you're going to calling hours, maybe put some candy in your pocket. You know, if you have pictures of the person, maybe bring a picture. If it's your favorite picture of them, you know, and you're going to see one person that you know, like, that might be something that really brightens their day. You know, like, you really don't know. And I think that allowing people to sit in the discomfort is so important. Being there with somebody and being like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to act, but you can cry with me is so important. Like, just, and that is a vibe that you give off. If you're uncomfortable, they feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just something you have to be comfortable with as a human. And I think that the more people accept their emotions and sit in them themselves, the easier it is to help people do that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I struggle with it still, emotionally, I guess you could say, but I've gotten better, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I know when you mentioned signs, so in our cemetery I work at, there is a high population of deer, like lots of deer. And
we actually talked about that with Bernie.
Oh,
Because he was like, your dad was like, yeah, they can be pretty destructive.
Yeah, they are. They're all menaces, but people love them.
Something I wouldn't think about because they're so cutie cute.
Yeah, but there's so many times I hear at services, or even when I'm selling a grave, they're like, "Oh, do you remember Aunt or Uncle so and so's funeral? There was a nice big deer, and he was a big hunter, and I just know that was him." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, good. Like, if you that's." Great, and I'm glad you.
But just
felt
because,
that.
can I give you a tidbit because I know where you're going with this? Is that because there's a high population of deer, it's not a sign?
I didn't say that at all.
Energy is so fluid, like it could have been. You know what I mean?
Well, what I was getting to is.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry to assume.
Give me a minute here. When family has mentioned that when I'm selling a grave, a couple days later they do the service. Every now and then I'm thinking, I go, come on, dear, where just walk by, just make themselves, just so they see them, or, you know, if I'm leading the procession up the hill and there's a deer to the right, like I might slow down and be like, anybody see the deer? Like trying to, I don't know if that's trying to make their sign come true, or if I am forcing a sign, but it makes me feel better because I think it's helping them.
Yeah.
Because I hear them say, "Oh, did you see the deer on the way up the hill?" I'm like, "Yes, mission accomplished." I mean, we're never like been like baiting them or like, you know.
Yeah, you don't feed them along the way.
We feed them, but we don't feed them like we don't
mean, like up in procession.
Yeah, no, we don't put like food near the funeral or anything like that.
We've got a service. Let's put them out.
I mean, they'll come. They're curious little critters there because they will.
They are. They get close.
I'll see services and they're like watching from the woods or a little farther away, and they're just waiting for everyone to leave. Because they're gonna munch on all those flowers, and they're gonna eat real well.
You know that meme of Shaq where he's like rubbing his hands behind the corner. That's the deers.
They're just waiting, and we've done funerals, and we've gone down to like drop the boards off, and then come back up, and there's deer eating it within like 10 minutes of the funeral ending. Yeah. But I don't want to say I'm forcing a sign, but so I do want to, I want them to see signs, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, and in that same sense, though, like, as somebody who doesn't necessarily, like, believe in all of the signs, right, as you do, but I think that just being aware and allowing yourself to be open to those things, like, maybe lean into it. Maybe don't talk yourself out of, there's a million deer in this cemetery. Like lean into it and allow yourself to just kind of be connected in that sense.
Yeah, no, I don't cut them down at the knees, being like, no, there's hundreds of deer here. Move on. I'm not a monster.
No, I know, but I'm saying for you too. You know
right.
what I mean? Like, lean into it. Allow yourself to feel the connection, and even if it's something that might be ordinary,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, whatever.
Because if you really think about it, I mean, feelings are ordinary too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody feels sad, angry, disappointed, frustrated, blah, blah, blah. But it's pretty, I don't know, standard, but also like individualized. So allow yourself to feel those things. Know that everybody else has felt those things.
I have an etiquette question for you.
Okay.
Really hard,
circling back around.
Hard gear change there. What are your thoughts on drinking or smoking?
Oh my gosh!
At the funeral home. So start there.
So,
or putting paraphernalia.
So I was just gonna say I just showed you.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
Yes.
But anything in the casket, like is
so
that...
I just had a service the other day, and I was actually with a coworker who doesn't really dabble in, I would say, extra, I don't know, like doesn't really drink, doesn't really smoke. Yeah. When we say smoke, we're talking about weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. So the service that I had the other day, they had sent their deceased loved one off with, probably at least a half, maybe a whole ounce of weed, and then a blunt or a joint, I guess it was. And so we're walking into the room, and I'm like, man, it smells pretty dank in here for them being like gone for a minute. It smells so dank. And then I'm like getting up closer to the casket, getting ready to close the casket, and I'm like, that makes sense. I see why it smells like that in here. And my coworker got very upset by it and really thought it was super disrespectful. And here's my thing. Okay, so here I guess is where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
You can put whatever you want on the casket. I don't care. In the state that we live in, marijuana is legal. Drinking is legal. If you want to put a beer...
Drinking's legal? Wow.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very progressive state.
If you want to put a beer, if you want to put a joint, if you want to put a pound of marijuana in the casket, I am not going to judge you. I am not going to judge the deceased. I simply don't care because...
It doesn't affect you.
It doesn't affect me at all.
The only thing I can say, would it affect because it does smell?
Yes.
And it, like, stinks up a room.
It does stink up a room. I mean, once we got the casket out of that room, I sprayed the room. You open the door for a little bit. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. It goes away.
What if you had two services going on or two calling hours at the same time?
It's very rare. We also, because we're not a firm that does thousands of calls, we're able to kind of gauge, a huge thing about my boss and I now because it's really just the two of us, we are so considerate of like knowing that the more time you spend with a family, the better you can serve them. Right. So if I'm scheduling 3 services in a day, I'm spreading myself pretty thin. Right. Like they're not getting the best version of me. You know, we're at this day and age now where we're not having crazy services like that. We're not a big firm where I have to spread myself that thin. You know, if I have a service going on Thursday morning and the family wants Thursday morning, I can at least kind of ask them for Thursday afternoon or Friday. You know, usually families will work with you. It's not a big to do. And if it is, you try your best to make it happen for them. But I'm not usually in that situation where it's going to cause a big issue if it smells in there. Like a beer for me, like or wine, you know, like that could explode over time, you know, because of it sitting in there. I'm not like, hey, this might pop a top and in the casket and make a big old mess everywhere. It is what it is. I mean, you're putting whatever you want in there.
I mean, they know that going into it, I would imagine. They have to understand that.
You put whatever you want in there. It's the same with soda. You know, the carbonation is going to eventually. So I don't care. He was pretty upset. He's also relatively new coming into the field. And
because wasn't he even saying that he was desecrating the body?
I was
a bit extreme.
That
in my
verbiage,
opinion.
That verbiage I like kind of addressed with him too, because like I understand as somebody who like really respects the deceased why he wouldn't do that. But he's also not around people that like have a pleasure in, you know, smoking weed, you know, have a pleasure in drinking
a couple cocktails.
Yeah, like that. Like, so I don't think that he necessarily understands, like, it's not necessarily about the body, it's about the afterlife effect, right?
So I think I would have an issue with one situation.
Okay.
So if someone got in a car accident and they were drinking and driving and they died, would you still feel the same with a bottle of Jack Daniels or something like that in the casket with them?
It's clearly the way they lived their life.
I know, but like,
I think it'd be inappropriate if they killed somebody else.
Right. But
like if they took somebody else's life and somebody thought it was amusing to put a bottle in there with them, you know?
Right. That's
because they obviously struggled with that to the point where it caused impact on somebody else's life.
That's the only thing I could really think of is if...
Because would you have a problem with somebody that had liver disease because they drank themselves to death?
See, I wouldn't as much because it's not really...
It's not putting other people at risk.
Right. I mean, it would, you know, it affects the family because I'm sure that individual had liver issues and they were going downhill and, you know, that's a whole different can of worms. But if someone was just, I don't know how I feel about that. But just like, if someone died of lung cancer and they put a pack of smokes in there, I don't care. That doesn't affect me at all.
For me, as somebody, like, I see myself to just help, you know, people transition through, you know, the veil is... It's not my place to judge you. That's
the only one I think I would have an issue with is someone drinking and driving and they killed somebody.
Well, I think that that's different, and I wouldn't sit there and judge. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think I would though.
Well, that's
just being honest.
Yeah, teach their own. I wouldn't do that for me. I wouldn't if I had a loved one that, God forbid, drank and drive and killed somebody, and I wouldn't be the person putting a bottle in there. You know what I mean? But everybody has their own things, and I don't think it's right, especially if you're in the industry, to judge those things. And, you know, to my coworkers, you know, I don't know, I guess to kind of stand up for him in a way, he said, well, obviously I'm not going to say anything to that. Like I'm not outwardly judging them, but here's something that I want to put on. Because I am a person that, you know, like vibes matter and your body language matters and your facial expressions, they all get picked up on. You might not think that you're coming across judgmental, that they know nothing. People 100% pick up on your discomfort, on your facial expressions, on your body language. All leads into, you know, this underlying etiquette. If you look uncomfortable, they're going to know you're uncomfortable. death is a part of life, you know, and the more that you allow yourself to be immersed in the discomfort of it, the more you're able to be there for people, the more you're able to be there in your own emotions, you know? So to bring what you had asked me about, not just burying stuff, but smoking and drinking on the premise. So in the state that we live in, it is illegal to have alcohol served at the funeral home, whether you're bringing it in or not, right? Like we don't have liquor licenses.
Okay, fair enough.
So technically, my answer is no. That's really inappropriate. Personally, and I mean, I think that probably every funeral home in the area has known about it and didn't say much. I would be really surprised if funeral homes went into a grieving family and said, "Do you have wine? You need to like get it out of here right now."
I don't think anyone's going to do that.
Yeah, I think most of the time they're going to be like, "Just don't let me see it."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just don't let me see it. We have a location in our area that there's definitely way more people that smoke weed in that location, and you'll walk outside and it smells dank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they come inside and it smells dank.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't care. I also was somebody that, you know, partook in smoking weed. So I don't see it as disrespectful as others might see it. I understand you and I have talked about it. Like, just the smell of it can be so overwhelming, especially, you know, you have kids around, which will lead into that too, because that's a part of etiquette. Is a lot of people always ask me, is it appropriate to bring kids to the service?
And the answer is,
what is your opinion?
Yeah. As long as they're
Do you
under
think there's
control.
an age?
I think as long as they're under control.
So any age, you feel?
Well, I know.
What is under control?
They're not running around or. Maybe they can run around maybe after the service, but in my opinion, when you have a service, everyone should be, focused and
reflective.
Yeah, and people listening to whoever's speaking, and you know, we've had kids I've babysat at a funeral before. I had to.
Yeah.
They asked me, "Can you watch my kids?" I'm like, sure.
You're like, this guy?
Yeah, I'm like, this little fella? Yeah. So I think he was 5, 6, somewhere in that. And we just kind of like wandered around the plot. You know, I never went out of, vision of the family.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, like he's going to, he was picking up sticks and like throwing them. I'm like, oh,
yeah, kids will be kids.
Right.
That's a big part of me is don't get stressed. If you bring your kid to a funeral or a service, don't be overwhelmed that they're being a kid.
But it's also
there is
wild to just ask a cemetery employee to watch my kid for me. I mean,
I agree.
That's crazy. I
think that this is a hard thing because I think that kids lack some type of structure these days. And, speaking as somebody who worked with kids, pull the veil back on me a little bit more is I used to be a preschool teacher. So I'm not like just, I don't know, pulling it out, like acting like I don't know what I'm talking about. I think that structure is a huge thing, and parents have a really hard time these days kind of towing that line because they don't want to be super strict. They want to be understanding that kids have energy and that kids, learn differently and have questions and don't necessarily like have control of all of their like bodily needs and volume and blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand that. I think that educating your kid before you go into a situation like this is super, super important.
Yes.
No matter the age, I mean, besides a baby, but I've heard that you can talk to a baby and it's good for them to talk to them, be like, hello, baby. I don't know how like accurate that is, obviously. I think that if your baby is crying, you're probably going to get up and leave the service. I think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think that, if your kid is able to hold a conversation, having a conversation with them about what they might see, their expectations, having a word that if they get like they can't sit still anymore, we need to get up and move, do that. Like I've had kids run around the funeral home, I think parents coming up and asking me, is there a place my kid can get some energy out, versus just letting them free for all up and down the hallway during calling hours.
Wind sprints, yeah.
Is different. Like I can, we can offer you outlets. Our funeral home one of them is pretty close. Actually, both of them are pretty close to a school. So I've had times where families go and they have grandma go take the kid to the playground and get their zoomies out at the playground. Things like that. Like, some funeral homes have children's rooms where they have books and toys and certain things that the kids can do. A lot of the times we'll tell families, if they have a lot of kids coming, bring some stuff and we'll create a space for them. Like, because we obviously have arrangement rooms or another viewing room that's not in use, that can be their space. Like they can do whatever they want in there, and if they need a break, they can go in there. And it's important to offer them breaks and to not expect that they're going to be an adult in the situation that most adults can't even be adults in.
That. No, I think that's all safe and makes sense.
I think it's trickier, at a church or a cemetery, especially in a cemetery where you're like outside.
Yeah, I mean, to transition into cemetery etiquette, there's nothing really I don't think too crazy.
Well, I do have a question.
Okay.
Because this was actually a question I asked one of my bosses when I first started, and he was so wise he had such a wise comment too. It was so funny. I asked him, is there a proper way to walk in the cemetery? In my mind, I was like, should you walk over, am I supposed to walk a certain way? Like, am I not supposed to go over their head end? Am I not supposed to walk over a headstone or a foot, because there are flush markers? Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to walk in a cemetery? And he looked at me and said, on your feet.
Okay. Well, not wrong.
I know. Wasn't helpful, but it was pretty funny.
I've given people plenty of tours, and people are like, "Oh, am I stepping on somebody?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like you're standing directly on top of somebody."
Yeah, you're
right
at
now.
A cemetery.
There's really no way to avoid it.
Yeah. Which your mom and I talked about today, because I did tell her we were going to be talking about this, and she said she has heard from people that you're not supposed to walk near their heads. Like, I don't know if that's a superstition thing. I don't know if you can really gauge that.
You would have to really know the layout of the cemetery.
Because every cemetery is different, too. Some cemeteries put headstones.
Yeah, or footstones.
Yeah, it's more of a footstone.
I'm thinking now, now that I'm thinking of, the flush marker one is just, I usually walk towards the feet side now that I think about it. No, it's a self-conscious. I don't know what's that. It's if I consciously do that or just either way. The only thing I will say is don't step on the stone. For a reason in my mind, that's disrespectful. I don't know why. Do
you think it's disrespectful to go wipe off somebody else's stone?
No, I don't think so. But we have we call them slants. They're about knee high and they're cut at an angle. I've seen people put their foot on top of it and step over it. And I'm like, don't do that.
What if they use their foot to wipe it off?
Oh, whip their feet off on it?
No. Like say it's all mossy, and they're like, oh, who's here? Who's next to grandma? And they use their foot to wipe it off.
I don't think that's bad, 'cause I think your end goal is trying to make it more visible. Mm-hmm. But I've seen some people, like I said, just literally just step on a stone. And I'm like, well, flush markers are tough. You might not want to do that on purpose, but the slant ones, you could see it. It's about knee high. And people are launching themselves off of it, jumping. And I'm like, well, that's not great.
Yeah. Walk around.
Yeah. And there's some big monuments, and I've seen kids run around on them. And I'm like, yeah, you're just a kid. But
sitting or resting on a monument.
Well, some of them have steps, and people sit on the steps. And I don't think that's a problem, because I think they're designed for that.
What do you think about, this is a good one. What do you think about photo shoots? Boudoir shoots, Halloween shoots in the cemetery.
We get a lot of those. Mm-hmm. The rule we've always kind of said is if you're going to post this, try to take the family name out of it. There's so many editing softwares and programs to Photoshop and things like that. Just take the family name off of the stone. Unless it's your family. That's one thing.
Crazy thing to do a boudoir shoot on your great-grandpa's grave.
That's a good point. But we have a couple of old staircases that aren't near any graves. They're just
you have some really cool statues too.
Mm-hmm. we done. There's a lot of high school senior pictures taken in our cemetery at our entranceway up by the staircases, and there's no stones there. I don't see any problem with that. I've seen some people sit in front of a mausoleum, and I remember thinking, well, that's an odd thing to do. But if you zoom in close enough,
you wouldn't even know.
You wouldn't tell it's a mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might say the O'Reilly family or something like that. I'm like, in my mind, like, yeah, get rid of that. Don't have that in the.
So you don't have
picture.
an issue with like a boudoir or a Halloween shoot?
I don't. Once again, if you do it tastefully and, you know.
What makes it untasteful? What pushes it over
provocative?
the line? What is that? Like if you're straddling the
headstone? Yes, I think that's a wild thing to do as well. To just, you know, understand that that's a loved one's marker.
Mm-hmm.
that is to represent somebody's life to a point and to remember, you know, memorialize them. And if you're, you know, wearing a short skirt, kind of like bending, I'm like, you know, let's not do that. I don't know. Maybe
you saying you want a young girl straddling your
No,
headstone?
I would not. I don't know that at all. I think that's crazy.
You're like, it's on record right now.
Yeah.
No
I want to put that in there. Ladies, if you're listening, that is not okay with me. No, I don't have a problem with any of the pictures as long as it's, you know, tastefully done. I'm trying to think of other etiquette at a cemetery.
So we kind of talked about this with your dad, was decorating grave space. I mean, that could be a part of etiquette.
Just, I beg you, please, just read the rules and regulations on what you can have at a stone. People think all the time, this is my stone. I bought the land. I can do what I want. You did not buy the land. You bought the burial rights. So
to the land.
So the cemetery still owns the property, because if we didn't, you'd have to mow it, and you're not doing that. So
you have to pay taxes on it.
That too. It's and ours is like no plastic flowers. I think plastic flowers are bad. I think they're dumb. I think they look bad.
Why do you think they're bad? Let's elaborate.
Because for safety of the employees, which I know is a wild thing.
We talked about this with your dad, with the weed whacker and the metal and it going into somebody's leg at a different cemetery.
And popping tires. We've seen a bunch of people make their area so big that it's encroaching on their neighbors. And then that family gets mad. I got to be like, all right, guys, you've gone too far. And then I'm the bad guy taking it all down. And people just, you know, I'm sure they want it to look, and they think it looks nice, but you got to remember that you're not the only one in this cemetery. Mm-hmm. And that's always a tough conversation. They're like, where'd all my stuff go? It's like, well, we threw it out.
What about people that cruise around in the cemetery? Like, you know, I think that this is something too. Like, you can go into a cemetery. You can go to walk. You can go for a walk. You can go for a drive if it's a big cemetery. Don't have your music blaring.
Yeah, just
don't be going 30 miles an hour.
Right. It's just I want to say just common courtesy, but like you could like music. You don't need to blare it. I've seen some wild things.
Like, what do you like bringing? Because I've been there when people have had like boom boxes, and they like you can hear that music for like lots and lots away.
So we've, you know,
did I use that term right? Is it a lot?
Sure. Plots, lots.
Okay, whatever.
You asked the question, I answered it. We have a little mini speaker that we used to take out when we were working. If we're by ourselves working, we might listen to music. Mm-hmm. Not loud, but just so we can hear it. And if somebody pulls up and hops out of their vehicle to go to like on the same plot or the adjacent plot, we 100% turn it off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've gone to your cemetery before and painted near one of the ponds. Mm-hmm. And I had music playing on my phone. But, like, if I had even got up and walked to my car, you wouldn't even be able to hear. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, you have every right to listen to music. It's just...
be respectful.
Yes. My other big pet peeve, and this is a me thing,
the list goes on.
Yeah, it's a long list. But if you go to visit one of your loved ones and you're driving to the grave in any cemetery and you come upon a service in progress, turn around and go back the way you came. do not try to snake through the cars. If you're walking, do not walk.
Services
through.
hardly last more than 30 minutes.
And if they do, you'll be okay if you go a different direction. I've been at services where we're at this grave, and literally 10 graves over, someone comes walking out, and then someone comes out of their car and goes and mourns at that grave. I'm like, go somewhere else. Just give this family a minute. You know, that's one of my
30.
big things. Or, I haven't seen it. I know Bernie has, when someone drove up in their car and a service was going on and they started beeping the horn. That's ridiculous behavior, if you ask me. Like, what kind of animal are you that you don't see what's going on?
I think it's tunnel vision. You know, like, don't allow yourself to get into, well, I lost this person. Once again, I feel like those are the type of people that don't deal with those feelings, right? Like, because they're so worried.
Me, so let's not just point fingers at me.
They're so worried, but I think you have dealt with those. You know what I mean? You're working through. You think you've dealt with them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm better.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think that don't allow yourself to think that you are the only person that has lost somebody.
How would you feel?
Don't allow yourself to get, I've had people where we have procession, and I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm somebody that cuts it pretty close every time, pretty late kind of person. So I've been stuck at a red light, and then you see a procession go by, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going to be so late. And then I sit there and go, well, I could be having their day.
You could be in that position.
I could be in that position. So allow them some grace, like, don't cut into a procession. Don't follow a procession. Don't speed by, like, ridiculous. Like, don't be obnoxious.
Don't be an ass.
just be kind. And, in these moments, it's such an important part to, if you let yourself feel sympathy, like, really allow yourself to dive into, wow, they're having a really bad day. And what a perspective for you to carry on your day in a way that's like, wow, somebody's dealing with that today, and I just have to go to work.
Yeah.
What a perspective change.
Yeah. And that's one of my big pet peeves. That's one of them. I've seen it too many times. Now, I have seen people drive up and go, oh, and then they back up immediately. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for.
We've seen that too.
That happens 95% of the time, is people realize it and they go the other way. But every now and then you get, like I said, we're a very big cemetery.
Yeah.
And people, we always laugh at this, they only know one way to get up to their grave. There's 7 miles or something like that of roads, and they just know one path. So if you kick them off that road, they are completely lost.
I mean, at the very least, back up to the point where you can't be seen, put it in park, and relax.
Go get a cup of coffee. Go fill up with gas and come back. I guarantee it's going to be over with by then. It doesn't...
Bring a book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't... Do something else, anything else. Go down to the bottom of the hill and wait. You'll see all the cars leave, then go up.
If you're young, scroll on your phone like you do on any other given occasion. So we kind of talked about calling hours. What else would people want to know about calling hour etiquette? Do you have any?
What do you wear?
Okay, that's a good. So I think that depends on the person, right? The person that you're going to mourn. I have coworkers that don't love to see people show up in jeans. They're like, what did this world come to? This is where these people don't dress appropriately at all. If you're going to a farmer and, he might be in jeans in that casket, I think it's appropriate to wear jeans. I don't think that it's inappropriate. I think it's gauge your audience. I personally would always rather be overdressed than underdressed. Right. That's just how I was kind of raised. But like I said, teach their own. I think that showing up in, because we've had some particularly girlies, and I don't want to, say anything. It's not a fashion show.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's deeply not, show up in what you're comfortable. Nobody wants to see you struggling in the heels. How many times have you seen women take their heels off at a cemetery?
God. I don't. I see them break their ankle usually. Because if God forbid the ground's a little muddy or soft, that heel is going straight in, and then they are stuck.
And I talked about that on one of our episodes too.
Yeah.
Like there was a point where I was wearing an inappropriately high heel to work, and you just kind of realize like, okay, it's not conducive for the environment I'm going to be in. Not only are you not the star of the show, and everybody's not supposed to be looking at you and how hot you look. You're going to probably go to a cemetery, it's up where we are.
It's cold.
Snowing. Yeah. It might be snowing. And
I've seen a lot of short skirts.
I've had somebody go down in the parking lot in like stiletto heels and then get mad. And I'm like, dude, you wore stiletto heels. If you're going to do that, at least bring a boots and then change.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know. Also be mindful. I think that a lot of people like douse themselves sometimes in perfume and stuff.
Cologne.
Yeah. Like just a little goes a long way.
now you're getting.
That's just also a personal thing.
Now you're getting outside of funerals, just in day-to-day life.
General. Little goes
brush
a long
your
way.
teeth. Yeah.
Maybe shower.
Yeah. A wild idea.
So what to wear, signing the book.
How do you feel about sunglasses?
Oh, okay.
Or baseball
we did
or hats.
kind of talk about this.
Or hats.
So there's also a thing with being a funeral director, right? Like my boss and I have kind of gone back and forth because he comes. Would
that be interesting for anybody to listen to? Like cemetery workers etiquette and funeral directors etiquette? Well, you can say no.
I would say, do we touch on that though in this?
Well, like
I don't know if a whole episode could be on that.
God, no, but like in like a 5-minute, like, because I know some of the stuff I do and our workers do that I think is noticed or really not noticed is kind of the goal.
Yeah. Well, you guys were yelled at for hats, right? Somebody said that was inappropriate in the winter or something to you.
We've had, this is way back in the 80s, I want to say. This is before I was there, obviously. One funeral director told Bernie that the workers should take their hats off. And I think Bernie was a little fiery, and he was basically like...
Not Bernie.
Yeah. He's like, no, it's a blizzard. We're keeping our hats on, which, I see his point. But we're also not at the service, really. I mean, we are, but... So, I'll just say a quick thing. From the cemetery staff point of view, we do everything in our power to not be noticed. That's our goal. Like, you should almost forget we're there. We lead people up the hill, and we always let them off on the right, so that the hearse door usually opens and swings towards the driver's side. So it's just easier to carry the casket without having to go around the door. Mm-hmm. That's something I'm sure nobody ever notices.
Unless you're part of the field.
Right.
Yeah.
We also try to point them back down the hill if possible, so that it kind of alleviates them getting... No, not so much that. We point it towards the exit, so that people don't get lost. They have a better chance of getting out without getting lost. Is if you just point them still going into the cemetery, they might not know how to turn around. So we try to turn around for them so that they could be pointed back towards the exit.
It's very rare that we go up a hill, like carrying up a hill versus carrying down a hill.
Sometimes it's unavoidable, but we always try to go, like I said, down the hill. It's just easier. Our workers... we don't have a problem with them wearing sunglasses. It's hard to see, but we carry the if we need us to, we carry the casket to the grave, and then we hide.
They go into the trees.
Yes, we go. Yes.
Literally just like disperse.
Yes, and that's the whole
trees.
point. I remember my father saying, like, all right, look which way where's the minister? If he's looking, if he's sitting in this area, standing in this area, everyone's going to be looking at him. So don't stand and hide behind him. Like, stand behind the family. Mm-hmm. Now, away from the family, too. Not right behind them. Go, like, 30, 40 feet away. Try not to talk very loud.
Also, wind carries.
Wind carries.
In case you are a cemetery worker listening, or even a funeral director.
And we've got some looks. I'm not too ashamed to it or too proud to admit that. You've shot me a look before.
Oh, for sure.
I'm like, okay, so we gotta be a little quieter.
And I also like when you're aware enough to know what the look means, because I have been to places where you keep looking over at them and they're like, dirt, and I'm like, dude, do you really want me to walk over there and scold you like a teacher right now? Because I will.
We do that. We have another small one that I never really noticed that we do. That if we go up to the grave, because we have to lower it, no hands in your pocket. The hands should be in front of you or behind you.
You guys do the funeral director walk.
Excuse me. Oh, like that? We don't so much do that, which is
you stand like
elbows
that.
out.
You put your arms behind your back.
Yes, behind
like
my back
that.
I do,
yeah.
or in front of me. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very directory thing to do.
Oh, okay. Well,
if you watch directors, they're usually either like a cop, or they're in front, or like behind themselves.
See, I do behind myself, I think. Usually.
Yeah, you mostly do. Unless you're holding your clipboard, then you hug it.
Yeah, hug that too. I'm scared. But when we lower it, there's usually, if everything goes right, there's 3 cemetery workers and 1 vault dealer. And that's who usually lowers the casket on the device and things like that. We all have our shirts and sweatshirts on, so we all match. And 2 guys are on the end, and then 2 are on the side, and we try to like kneel so that the families can still somewhat see, and we help lower it down into the vault. After that, we get the hell out of Dodge again and go hide. We only hide. Well, we always hide until a funeral director gives us the sign, which is usually like a head nod or a hand up, kind of a wave, and then we go. I fallen into that mistake before, where it wasn't a funeral director, it was somebody else, and we came walking over, and they were like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "No, didn't someone give us the sign?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
They're like, "Go back to the bushes,"
and then go run away again. So I've had that problem. I only look at the funeral director. I've had other funeral home workers give me the sign, and I just ignore them. And I think some of them gotten not mad, but been like, "No, I called you," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care if you do." I don't
listen to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I only listen to the funeral director. I've had the vault dealer just go walk up, and some of our guys that follow, I go, "Nope, hey, hang on, he can go look like an ass. That's fine. I don't want us to." And that guy walked in there, and everyone kind of looked at him, and we weren't behind him. I'm like, that's on you.
Yeah.
But our goal is to just be not hidden, be hidden completely.
Yeah.
Forget we're there.
And it's
we have this new guy. He started. I don't want to say he started. What 9?
How many months ago?
Yeah, 9. I don't know. This summer. He's doing great. He's a really really nice guy.
Yeah.
And the first funeral he did, he came up to me. He goes, "I'm so nervous. I think everyone's staring at me."
That was so funny. I love this story. I'm sorry.
and I go,
"It's so true. It's so relatable as somebody that also is from the industry."
And I go, "Don't worry. No one even knows you're here. No one's even looking at you. I promise. You are the last thing on their mind right now. Don't even worry."
It's even for funeral directors. I mean, the whole point is that you're there to help people when they need help. You're not the star of the show, you know. And it's so true because you feel like everybody is watching you, and sometimes people are watching you, especially if you're once again the director because you are directing people. But they're not going to remember you as much as you think. They're going to remember your kindness and your sympathy way more. They're going to remember anything else.
I did have this one. I don't know why I just thought of this. We were carrying the device, and it was very muddy, and I stepped off the boards, and I immediately rolled my ankle. Just for backstory here, my right ankle is absolute trash. There's every ligament I think is stretched and ripped. My right ankle is absolutely useless.
Yeah, it makes gross noises.
Yeah, I have to like pop it in the morning and to loosen it up. And I immediately rolled my ankle, and I go, and I looked over at this guy who was looking at me. He just raised his eyebrows like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Don't worry about me." And I just like dragged my foot away. Off. Yeah. And I remember thinking like, well, he might remember that part actually of me. But I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure he moved on. But I remember thinking, like, oh, God damn it.
I was seen.
Why now, ankle? Why now? Yeah, I was seen. The jig is up.
But okay, so it kind of circled back to the sunglasses thing on our end.
Oh, yeah. Ask the question, then stepped on it. Okay.
So I've had a conversation with my boss about it because in our work too, he grew up in a time where you know what I mean, like you kind of sucked it up. You didn't wear like a hat, you didn't wear sunglasses, like you just dealt with the elements. Your job is to look strong in a sense for these families. Where I like kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm the back end where I'm like, I just want to look like a
cool.
Not even super cool. I want to look like a person, you know what I mean? I just want to be personable. And
aren't you going to look like ridiculous just squinting the whole entire time?
I think that's worse than, because his big thing was people want to see your eyes. And I don't disagree with that. I do agree. When people want to see your expressions and your eyes, I think that when it's super sunny, most people in the family are going to have sunglasses on. Mm-hmm. If you see that nobody is wearing sunglasses and you're the only person wearing sunglasses, maybe reassess.
Right.
That's
fair.
But like most of the time, people are going to put sunglasses on if it's sunny out. People are going to wear a hat if it's cold out. They're going to wear a scarf. They're going to bundle up. I think it's a human thing to do to also do that thing. So I also have pretty sensitive eyes. Like,
yeah, no, I should probably wear.
And it's a protective. Honestly,
I have light eyes, and
hats protect you from the sun.
I do wear a hat.
Yeah.
I haven't told employees what kind of hats I wear. Just a plain black hat, nothing fancy.
Well, none of your employees really have had like. I'm like, wow, they look dirty, unless you guys have been in the mud all day. But that's just a given.
I also wash the hat weekly for that very reason.
Thank goodness.
Yes. I did think
Talk about stinky.
Yeah, I did think of another thing, etiquette-wise, for someone at a funeral.
Okay.
And this is also helping out the funeral or the cemetery guys and gals. But when everyone leaves, like when people start, like going about their business and going home, go. I was gonna sound bad, but like there's been so many times where, because most of the time these roads are very narrow, so you only can park one car.
Oh, so you're blocking people.
Yes, you're lined up right in a line. Mm-hmm. But I've seen it so many times where people go back to their car and they just sit there, and there's one individual just talking with a relative and just shooting the shit, catching up. And I don't say anything, but I'm like, I bet you're that one Jetta or whatever it is that's blocking everybody in, and they turn around and say, oh, I guess I gotta go, I'll see you later, and then they leave, and then everybody else leaves. Just have some aware of your surroundings that maybe you're blocking most of the people in.
And also, most of the time, I would say a lot of people do luncheons. So, like, there'll be a time to talk, So, or again, there are appropriate times later on, weeks to follow where you stop in and you have those conversations, have a phone call, write a letter.
We had this a couple times. And this is a pet peeve again. Once again, I'm probably in the wrong here. I'm just getting that out of the way. Where, say, funeral is at 1 o'clock and the luncheon to follow is at 2 o'clock. And they'll finish everything at 1:15. And they'll just sit there like, oh, well, we can't go anywhere. We'll just hang out here for 45 minutes and then we'll leave. And then as a cemetery, we don't want to backfill with the family there.
But you guys can't also can you leave it open? Like, can you guys go do something else?
We don't. I don't know if we legally that. I'm not sure. I know we don't want to. We really don't ever do that. I think once we do the funeral, we want to backfill it, but we don't want everyone there for insurance reasons. People want to help. It just turns into a mess. But we're just stuck sitting there watching them bullshit while they're waiting to go.
This is hard for me too, because it's also like, I kind of understand that, like, if they're early and they have nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Well, go down the hill and go. We have a big parking lot, a chapel. Like, go. Let us do.
But it's the last time they're with that person, really, right?
But they're not even like mourning. They're just.
How do you know they're not mourning?
Because they're all laughing and not.
That doesn't mean you're not mourning.
Right? But they're not mourning. Right.
Okay.
Just trust me, they're not mourning. I'm right.
I'm right.
They're
you're
just
wrong.
And it's. I understand that we are the last thought on their mind, and I understand that. But also, like, can you let us do what we have to do?
I think it's also very difficult to understand that you guys like, because there are small cemeteries, right, where that is what that's what these people are retired. That is what they're doing today. This is literally all they have going on. That's not the case for every cemetery. You know, they have other things to do. They have to allocate their times in other places where that might not be an issue in some places. Might not be a thought.
Another thing too, I'm on a roll, is when there is very clearly a storm coming and it's gonna rain, and it was iffy about the rain the whole day, yet the funeral's over with, and they same thing, they have nowhere to go, so they're gonna hang out, and then it starts to rain, like, oh, we better get out of here then, and then we're stuck back filling in the rain. It's like, you could have just left a little earlier. See, once again, I'm being selfish.
I'm just blinking at him right now, like,
I know.
blink, blink.
Yeah, and I am scrambling, but
I understand your perspective, but
I'm being selfish as a cemetery employee, because
as long as you can recognize, because like in my mind, it is your job to deal with elements, right?
Which we do. But if you don't have to, once again, if you're just hanging out, killing time before the luncheon comes in, and then it starts raining, and then you're gonna leave. It's like, do you think we wanted to stand in the rain?
Yeah, but who's to say that, I don't, what if it was just 15 minutes? It's going to take you longer than 15 minutes to backfill.
But
right? Does it? I don't know.
Well, professionals like us, it's pretty quick. But, it just...
How long does it take to backfill?
We use the backhoe, so depending on how far away it is, it doesn't take too long. It's actually about 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
But it just seems like... I don't know. I know I'm not coming off great here. I'm just being honest. And this is the whole point.
Which is the whole point.
Yes, is just... I know what the last people think about is the cemetery worker, and I can recognize that and I understand it. But just, can you think a little bit about us? Because, we've seen it so many times.
Collectively, no.
I know. I know it's not going to change. I know that.
I'm just kidding.
But
because I think that there are things that you've told me that have totally changed my perspective. You know what I mean? I definitely do.
That's one of them. Where I was like, can you... I don't want to... Or when it's like... We did a funeral a couple weeks ago, and it was... I'm not even exaggerating. It was -12. And they were quick. And I was like, thank you. And granted, I had so many layers on, and so did everybody else. But I'm like, I don't want to be out here either. Like, I understand your mourning, and I know you're going through a hard time, but it's cold. It is dangerously cold.
Do you notice, like, that a lot of people leave after... Because the funeral home typically leaves once the lid is on the vault.
Mm-hmm. Big yawn.
Okay.
Boring you. This is a real riveting podcast. They're falling asleep during the middle of it.
Just a busy week. For
Monday.
It's going to be a busy week. But our funeral home, like, depending on the situation, I think most of the time, let me just dial it in. We don't leave until the family leaves.
Yeah. I think I'm going to save that because we have one down the line here, potentially, about a whole episode dedicated to my gripes, which is, that's in there.
What? The funeral director's waiting?
Yeah, nope. They just leave. Oh, boy.
Because there are certain communities that, like, I know that we end up leaving earlier than other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we take care of a pretty decent sized, like, Russian community.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times they hang around and they'll plant, like, flowers at other people's graves. They're not just going there to mourn that one person. They're going to go visit other family members. They have other things to do. I mean, the pastor comes up to us. It's like he expects us to leave. Like, he understands that we have other things to do, and he knows that they're going to probably hang around there.
Yeah.
So what would us staying do?
No, I'm not. Like I said, this is... You guys can leave. I don't have a problem with that. I've had issues where they bring the hearse up, they drop the body off, and then they leave. And they don't
stay for service at all.
Nothing. They just say, you guys got that right, and they leave. I got a problem with that. It's technically illegal in our state, but what am I going to do?
Funeral directors have to stay for...
Till lid's on.
I mean, you could totally...
Yeah, but that's...
Write a complaint to the state.
But that's not... It's an... I know you're saying it's an option, but it's not an option. But that's...
Why is it not an option?
Because that funeral home is going to be mad because they're going to say, well, why did you...
But what they're doing is illegal.
Yes, but every other cemetery... Not everyone, but like... I don't know. I just think that's going to hurt our business.
How do you know that the other cemeteries allow it?
I've heard other people say that from the vault dealer. To say, hey, they just come in and drop it off and leave.
I don't know. That's a wild thing for me, too.
It hasn't happened a lot.
Because...
It happened, I think, maybe twice. And it's a funeral home that is...
well, very well known.
Not well respected. I'll say, in the death care community. All my complaints, I'm going on a tangent. All my complaints are about like 2 funeral homes. So I don't want to come across as I hate all funeral directors, or I have, not hate, it's a strong word, but I have problems with funeral directors. It's only like 2.
Well, but it's also, there's always bad apples. And because of those, unfortunately, it's like in any field, it carries a heavy weight because you're doing heavy work.
But no, we're
getting off topic. So etiquette. Back to the etiquette. We were talking about hats. So
oh shit, yeah.
So
we were.
For the funeral in particular, so standard is not to wear a hat in church, not to wear a hat inside. I'm not going to yell at you. It's not my job to monitor your body.
But funeral directors wear hats.
Into the cemetery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not like a baseball hat. It's like a
that's
Indiana Jones hat.
Yeah, that's not in church. That's not inside. You're protecting yourself from the elements.
What if you wore a hat? Would
my hair would get messed
Freddie got me there.
Well, we have hats specifically for our funeral home.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and they're so small. We need to get...
Your big noggin.
We need to get bigger hats, and we've all talked about it. But they're allowed to wear black hats.
Or are you allowed to wear?
If I want to, but I have long hair, so I can wear You've seen me wear earmuffs, or was that what
ear muffins?
Ear muffins.
Yeah.
And
I've
I
noticed
eat them later
because you have tattoos.
I do have tattoos,
but they're all covered.
Yes.
And that's from Freddie, right?
Yeah, that is my job. Would like me to keep those covered. I think that's becoming less of an issue, right? I've had families ask me, why do you cover up your tattoos? And
just to be clear, they're not like on your hands or...
No, I have like a partial... I guess I have a sleeve. It's just not like super full. It's not like a like one piece type of sleeve. It's like several pieces that are put on my arm.
Where's the last one? Does it go to your wrist?
Just about.
Oh, it does. I forgot that one.
Which can be seen. Like there are times where I'll wear a dress or a sweater and it doesn't cover up all the way. I mean, when I did my interview, they saw a portion of my tattoo, and I mean, this tattoo does have a skull in it. It's really the only one the only one that's like inappropriate, I guess, would be like seen as like could be
yes, startling,
a little taboo or something. But all my other ones are pretty... I don't know. I get I get more compliments on my tattoos than I get bad looks or other things like that. A lot of the times they're conversation starters, and I think because my boss is seeing that, it's becoming less of a issue. You know what I mean? I also think there's tasteful ways. If there's nothing going on at the funeral home, like, and it's summertime, I'm not wearing a sweater over my, you know what I mean? Like my shirt. If somebody comes in, I'm probably just going to throw a sweater on really quick because I don't want to assume that, I don't know. I don't think tattoos make people uncomfortable anymore, but it could.
Yeah.
And
not in this day and age.
I'm not in the position right now to try to make you change your mind about tattoos. I'm here to help you grieve and to help somebody transition across the veil.
I mean, everything is so different now. I don't think anyone really cares if you have tattoos or not.
Yeah.
We have 2 of our employees have tattoos, but none of them are visible. From if they had a T-shirt on, you might see it poking out, but we don't. I don't ask him to wear a long sleeve because he'd probably be like, no, which I completely understand. So once again, our whole goal is to not to be seen. So
yeah. So I think that in the same sense for me too, like I'm not trying to be the center of attention. So sometimes your tattoos can draw attention. I am considering getting some tattoos on my legs, which would show in the summer because I do wear dresses often. And I've brought it up to my boss, and it's not like he's like, yeah, go do it. That's awesome. But he's also not like, no, you're going to have to wear pants all the time. You know, I think he's just like, what are they going to be?
Yeah, right.
You know?
Tasteful again.
It's not going to say like, fuck you on your knees.
It could be.
So stuff like that too. To kind of summarize everything, because we did go on some different tangents again, as we usually do. From the funeral home side, and then we'll go to the cemetery side, is calling hours. If you don't know anybody but the deceased, you know, keep it simple. Make sure you're not like radiating discomfort. I think, you know, if you have stories to share, if they talked about their grandkids a lot, you know, say how proud they were, things like that. Bring candy if you want, you know, to kind of have something to break the ice.
But you, the old lady just being there really quiet, like, you want a piece of candy?
You want a candy, little boy? Break the ice.
Yeah, really, everyone do that technique.
I think that a lot of people also get like weird about kneeling in front of the deceased, right? So like, say a prayer. You know, maybe a thought like, I hope, if you're not religious, like, I hope that you're in a better place. Like, I hope you're out of pain. Know that there are so many people that love you here. You know, you made an impact. Bow your head, look up at them. You're more than welcome to look at them. You can absolutely touch them. I think a lot of people.
Really?
I'm surprised that you're shocked by
this. I didn't know that. I never did.
Yeah, you definitely can touch. You know, like, they're not going to feel.
Not going to feel it?
Like, well, they're not going to feel it, yes. They're not going to feel like a normal, typical person would, you know? They are obviously going to be a little stiffer. They're going to be cold. So if you're going to touch, be aware of that. I mean, don't poke their face. Don't, like, cop a feel, you
Jesus.
know? Well, if you want to grab their hand, like, I grabbed my grandma's hand and I said a prayer, you know?
Oh, okay. Cop a feel, I thought you meant.
I said don't cop a feel.
Right, yeah, I know. I didn't think that was even an option.
So, and then you get up and you move on. You keep it pushing. Like we talked about smoking and drinking. I think teach their own. Obviously, gauge the audience. Which leads me to kind of a cemetery question is, what do you think about like dipping in a cemetery or like smoking cigarettes?
I don't have a problem with it.
You think it's like appropriate to ting spit on the ground?
Yeah. It's a good man. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
Because you're technically spitting on somebody's grave. Like, quite literally.
No, you're right. I just have it in my head like the headstone is like the really important part. I don't know why. Because I think just on...
It's where the money is.
Well, it is. But I just think like you can't avoid walking over somebody. If you're going to a cemetery and you're going to walk anywhere on the lawn, you're going to be walking on.
But I think you can avoid spitting.
Yes, that's fair.
I have seen some loogies hocked at a cemetery, and I just go, God, why?
Yeah, man, I have too. Now that I'm mentioning it, I never spit on a stone.
Workers
though.
and visitors alike.
Really, I never thought of that. So that's on me.
I mean, that's really something people like. Oh, I'm going to spit on their grave. And
I never knowingly.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't ever like planned. Like I want to go spit it. It's just like, you know, if you cough or something, you just spit and then that's it. But I never spit on a stone. Man, now you got me questioning everything. But smoking and drinking, I personally...
Is it illegal to drink in a cemetery or certain cemeteries?
It's probably drinking in public still, or like a park. I don't really care. I just always say pick up. If you have beer cans or liquor bottles, or just bring them with you.
What about people that leave liquor and stuff at the headstone?
Yeah, there's a lot of liquor up there. I mean...
Well, you have also... Don't you have people like houseless people go up there and like drink?
So the same guy... who started this summer, he said that to me once, and he was kind of, I hope he was joking. He's like, if I ever fall on hard times, and I need to drink real bad, I'm just going to come to a cemetery. There's plenty of hooch up there, and there's lots of hooch up there. I don't have a problem with it. I just say pick up after yourself. I have found beer cans all over the place. I'm like, we have garbage cans. Just throw them out. I think that's disrespectful. At a grave, at a service, I have no problem with people drinking.
What if somebody brings alcohol to pour out?
So I wasn't done yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have no problem with people drinking at a grave. I've had people bring coolers. I just say pick up after yourself. However, I have had some individuals where they pour alcohol on the casket. I don't like that because it hits the casket and it goes everywhere. And those greens that cover the casket or cover the area around the hole to make it look nice so you don't see the boards, they've been soaked in alcohol, and that stinks. So we have to go out and we have to wash it. Once again, I'm speaking from the cemetery. Don't do that, in my opinion.
He said, please.
Please, because we have to clean up. We have to wash those because...
But if somebody, say it's already backfilled and they go and pour...
Go right ahead. No
on the
problem.
dirt.
Yep. For my grandparents, my grandfather was Polish, and we would drink Wasnówka. And...
Oof.
Yeah. And
shout out to Graham if you're listening.
And I would go up there and I would do a shot of Waz, and I'd pour a shot into the ground. But I took the bottle with me and everything.
And then he drove home, folks.
I did.
He's just like the scenario.
I had to race home before it really kicked my
I'm gonna put a bottle of Waz in there. Yeah, your casket.
$13 or whatever it is. But no, but that's my only thing is if you're gonna drink, you could pour it, but after the greens are taken away. That's just my little 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does stink, and it smells like stale beer or stale liquor. We have to hose them down, and it's.
What do you think about people smoking joints and stuff at the service at the graveside?
I guess I've said before, that's never really been my thing. I just don't like the odor and how it just lingers, man. But you're outside, so.
And we live in a state where it's legal, and
right. And I've gotten used to
legal.
it. I've just used to weed. I smell it all day long, basically.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with it. I guess if once again going back to the greens, don't ash, because it could burn it type thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't. Etiquette wise, no, just. I don't know, common courtesy.
Do unto others.
Yeah, the other ones do unto you. Yeah,
yes.
You can't say because some people want. I would want everyone drinking and smoking at mine. I want a big party at mine, which is fair.
But I think it's just take everything in consideration, read the room, lean into the discomfort, allow yourself to feel the things. Mm-hmm.
From a cemetery point of view, just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
Realize that you are in a cemetery. You're not the only individual in that cemetery. There could be a service going on.
There could be several services.
Multiple times, yeah. We could have multiple at the same time. Don't be discouraged if you come in and there is a service and the road's blocked. Just go around, but not through, or come back later. Just kind of just be aware of your surroundings is my summary for cemetery's point of view, at least. Yeah. And read the rules for decorating. And no risque pictures.
I think that kind of covers it. I mean,
yeah. Anybody else has anything else more?
Yeah. If you don't feel like if there was a specific question, we won't necessarily have to do a whole episode on it again, but there'll probably be an episode where we talk about our gripes, maybe talk about our random questions that we've been asked that don't necessarily would fill an entire episode.
More superstitions,
things like that. Yeah. If you have any of those questions,
tips, tricks. All of it.
So I think on that note, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
How about that? And we're going to say, come on, just this one time. I mean, we're back at it.
Creep it real.
Louder for the folks.
Creep it real.
I'm so proud of you. Creep it real, folks.
Thank you, everybody.